conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing sometimes, because that's how you tell a more intriguing story. You should be able to look across the room at somebody else and spend a moment in their shoes and decide, oh wow, maybe they are right, or hey, maybe I don't believe in that, but I understand. So that was always something I wanted to do from square one, and it comes to the art too. You always want to see different types of art. Diversity in art is not just the people, but it's styles. Everybody has a different type of style and everything.
Gentlemen in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Book Festival with Literacy Nation, and he just said some things I just thought that everybody needed to hear. So I invited him to the Horizons Author Lounge so we can get to know him together. So hello, Corey.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you for being here. Well, how's it going? How's everything going?
Good. We're on that journey of debut novel. So, this is ups, it's downs, and, you're just trying to get out there and give the world your baby, so to say. This thing you've loved for so long. Now it's out there, and everybody else loves it too.
And that is so true. I mean, our books are our babies. I don't care how many books that we write, all of them are going to be our babies, and we want people to love them just as much as we love them. But sometimes I think we think because we've written a book and because we love our baby the way we do, that everybody's just going to know it's there. And we forget to promote our baby and tell the world about our baby.
No, I absolutely agree. You kind of want that to happen. You'd love for you to push a button and the whole world's like, oh, look at this thing. But the truth of the matter is, especially for self-publishers, it's a lot of work, a lot of boots to the ground, a lot of, almost door to door at some points. But that's what you got to do. If you want to make a name for yourself, if, like you said, if you want your baby to thrive, you got to put the work in. Nothing happens overnight, and it's all about the passion, dedication.
Absolutely. So, tell me about your books.
Okay, so I actually just finished my debut novel, The War Ongoing Knightfall. It released back in July, and it is a sci-fi fantasy hybrid, epic. Very inspired by the things I love: cinema, video games, epic novels like Lord of the Rings, and so on. And I just felt I wanted to put my touch on that industry, on that genre. I come from a background in art, comic book art, illustrations, and things like that. So this was a big change for me. I didn't know I had it in me, I always say. And then, I jokingly say, well, 52 chapters later, I must have had it in me. Something worked.
52 chapters, really?
Yeah, no, it's a big guy. I jokingly, like, at no point thought it was going to be that big of a story, but then you get writing, and I think any good writer or any writer who loves what they're doing will find that sometimes you just get into the character yourself. You're almost acting while you're writing, and you're putting out these characters, these words, and you want to do them justice. So, what you thought might have been a page becomes a chapter, kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, you just hope it worked out well. And luckily, feedback is saying it worked out pretty well.
Awesome. So tell us about the storyline.
So at its core, it is a fantastical world with some high-tech inspiration in there, but it is a story about people and their bonds. And how far will people go to honor someone they love or something they cared about, or an idea that they just need everyone else to know. So at its baseline, we have three main characters that in this fantasy hybrid world are tasked on doing something that will lead to them honoring someone they all cared about, a found family, so to say. None of them by blood, but all of them see each other Like they take a bullet for each other, and
Mm.
on that journey they experience this beautiful world of grandiose, and the people in it and the creatures in it and the other races in it, and how that affects them is really where the story gets its heart from.
That's a liner. I like that. Built to be the ultimate nerd. So, when you write a book that's as long as this one, first of all, I think that fantasy fiction actually lends itself to be longer. I've not seen a lot of short books that are, or a lot of short fantasy fiction books. So, but I don't think I've seen it 52 chapters. So, was this a case where you wanted to continue to drive the characters throughout the story, or did you get to a part and say, no, I need to add a little more here? Like, when did you know when to stop? When to say, okay, this is enough?
So the 52 chapters slightly misleading, only because one of the ideas going in was, as someone, like I said, had trouble reading young, I try to make them smaller chapters. I have a friend that I talked with the whole process, and I said, hey, what leads to you dropping off a book? I know you love Lord of the Rings and stuff. And he said, oh, man, I can't read 30 pages a night. I just can't do it. And I said, okay, well, that's good, because I'm going to try to keep it low. So yes, it is a long book. I think the total is just over 500 pages. But the chapters are small and almost bite-sized. My idea was I want somebody to be able to read once a night, like one chapter a night, but I want them to be hooked, that they want to read more, but feel content if they get through one. But with that said, absolutely did I not think it was going to be this long to start. But when you're building a world, when you're creating something, I jokingly told my wife, I said, next book, it's going to be one person. It's going to take place in my backyard so that I don't have to make a single thing up and I can just write what I see. Well, I couldn't do that. I had to write something I saw in my head that I had to tell people what I'm seeing. And, I could tell them anything I want, but I had to tell them in detail. I had to make sure they believed it. I could tell them the sky is red, but I have to tell them why too, or else they're just not going to get it. They're going to be like, oh man, I don't, he's just saying stuff. So that's actually where a lot of the length, I think, comes from. And as I'm working on this follow-up now, I'm finding that it's a little easier because, I've already done that legwork. You did that heavy lifting in that first book.
Created that world. So
exactly.
It's the same world in the second book, and you can just build on that.
Exactly. And, you would hope no one goes into the second book blind per se. So you, instead of giving them these details, you can give them more breadcrumby stuff. And it's a different change of pace, but I loved creating the world. I at no point was like, oh man, this is too much. It was like, no, if I felt it needed to be told, it was said in the book, and I cut stuff for sure. But in order for you to love these characters, in order for you to understand their pain, their suffering, their cares, their loves, you have to understand the world they're in. And that took 52 chapters.
So I was just going to ask you, and I think you actually answered it for me already, but would you say that the world that you created in your books is a bit of a utopia?
I'd say in points. I think like any utopia, there's going to be people who think it's a utopia, and then the outside world might say, no, some of the stuff you're doing might not be exactly as great as you think. Where the true utopias, some of the other guys across the street will be like, no, I don't like that at all. And the truth of the matter is, they have hate in them. And so would I say the world as a whole is utopia? Absolutely not. I think there's pockets of it. And I think by the end of the book, you're seeing the people who do want it to be that utopia. And now it's a matter of, hey, can they get it there?
Corey, I'm really enjoying our conversation. I knew we were going to have a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad. After the first guy, I was like, oh man, how do I follow that?
I know. I was like, wow, he was just breaking it down. I was like, that's why I said I'm gonna have to have him back on the show, because there was I didn't even get a chance to even talk to him about because the half hour went so quickly.
I said he sounded like a fountain of knowledge. He probably is a great person to sit down for an hour or so and listen to. I thought it was amazing.
Well, I tell you what, your story is amazing as well, and I want to thank you once again for joining me in the Horizons Author Lounge. If you'd ever like to come back, just say the word.
Yep,
If
absolutely.
Like, once your next book is done, if you want to come back, just say the word.
Absolutely. I loved our time here, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. I really appreciate you.
You too. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.